must live in the district from which they're running. All voters in the county may vote for one person from each district. I would now ask that you turn off your cell phones. I would also ask that once the forum starts, you hold any applause until the end of the forum. Applause takes up valuable time we have for questions. It's also unfair to the candidates, and it doesn't uphold the proper decorum for such a serious event as this. I would like to recognize all that are assisting us tonight to make this a good and informative experience. I also want to recognize in the audience 3 school board members. We have Erica Donalds, and Julia Gray. I especially want to thank our timekeeper, Bert Thompson from Marco Island, the site of our next forum. We're going to hold the applause. Nobody will get sold. Please note, by the way, that because of an unavoidable conflict, the date of that forum has been moved to Tuesday, July 12th. Okay, would you please stand and pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You each have cards for audience questions. If you have a question, write it on the card and then pass it over to the aisle and somebody will get it from you. Now I'd like to introduce our moderator, David Elliott. Mr. Elliott has been involved in media since he was 16 years old and has been a radio personality in markets from California to Florida. Currently, he is the top-rated afternoon host of WGUF 98.9 FM. Mr. Elliott.
Okay, well, that was an old bio. Actually, I'm in the morning now. But that's all right. Thank you so much, Beth, and I'm so happy to be here tonight. I want to, first of all, say how grateful I am to see as many of you in the audience as there are. This is really exciting to have you all here. And to our 4 candidates, thank you all very much for coming this evening. We're going to start with opening statements. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to give an opening statement. And then we will ask questions. They'll each have a minute to answer the questions, and our timekeeper will advise them of the appropriate time period.
15 seconds. That means
that's 15 seconds.
This means adios.
That means, yeah, okay. So we're set on that, and it was agreed that we would start the opening statements in alphabetical order, then we'll do the closing statements in reverse alphabetical order. So, Mr. Carter, you're first.
All right, let's make sure the mic's working. Had a little problem last time, didn't we? Well, first of all, I want to thank you all for coming and for the coalition for hosting this. I want to start off by telling a little bit about myself. I'm originally from Somerville, South Carolina. Went to Trident Technical College there. I was involved with student government, athletics, and theater. The theater led me to get involved with Spoleto and Piccolo Spoleto. In 1992, I moved to Naples, where I opened up my first business, which was an Arthur Murray dance studio. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of Arthur Murray. And that's where I met my wife. We were teaching a couple, and they introduced me to their daughter, and this past May, we've been married 19 years. We have a son that attended Seagate Elementary School, and his kindergarten teacher's here today, which is pretty cool. And then he now attends Gulfview Middle School and will be going into the 8th grade. Just to fast forward a little bit, in 1996, we sold our business and I attended Lorenzo Walker Technical College, the cosmetology program. So we've been a business owner in Naples with the hair salon for 18 years. In the recession, with our knowledge on how to cut our budget and keep our staff, we actually moved and were more profitable in the recession than we were at any other time. In fact, so much so that we moved our space 4 years ago from 2,000 to 4,000 square foot and tripled our staff from 6 to 18 employees. Throughout that time, we continued to do charity work for the community. along with, in 1992, I did some theater work for Gulfview Middle School. We also worked with Bosom Buddies, Pace, Makeover in Paradise, Hats in the Garden, Santa's Workshop, and I was also a guest teacher and intern host at Lorenzo Walker Technical College, and that's what we've done most recently, in fact, was the intern host. I also have governance experience. I've governed boards of condo associations. I won 2 right now, 2 separate boards, and that's always exciting. So we have a great community in Collier County, and we need to keep it great. But our community is only going to be as good as our school system. We need to keep our school system strong. And I intend on doing that by continuing the STEAM program and putting an emphasis on the A in that STEAM. We used to have STEM prior, but we need to keep moving forward to that fashion. Thank you very much.
Mr. Dixon.
Good evening. My name is Lee Dixon. I am a candidate for school board in District 4. I'll tell you a little bit about myself, but first let me thank everybody for coming out tonight and thank the coalition for putting this forum on. But I am an oddity in the fact that I am a native Floridian. I was born at Homestead Air Force Base over in Homestead, Florida, to a career member of the United States Air Force. My father served 33 years in the Air Force, including the last 12 years of which he spent as the crew chief on Air Force One, flying the president around the world. So I finished school in the spring of '92, and you may remember over on the East Coast we had this little wind event called Hurricane Andrew hit, and we lost everything. Our house was flat to the ground. The day after the hurricane, my parents both retired and bought a 30-foot travel trailer and said, "See ya." I stayed behind to rebuild and moved to Naples in 1995 after we had rebuilt everything. I met my wife here. My wife is a 20-plus year member of Collier County EMS as a paramedic, saving people's lives every 3rd day anyway. We have 3 children. I have a stepson who graduated from Naples High School. I have a 13-year-old who has autism. He attends North Naples Middle School. And I have a 10-year-old. Now, I'm always asked why I am running. And my 13-year-old is the reason that I'm running. Almost a year ago, on June the 24th, it'll be a year, that I was able to get a state law changed for the benefit of all special needs kids in the state of Florida. He is my inspiration and my reason for doing this. And there's nothing more that I want to be able to help the special needs kids here in Collier County. So, again, thank you for having us. Have a good evening.
And Ms. Lucarelli.
Thank you all for coming here tonight.
There we go. Thank you for coming here tonight and hosting this event, Coalition. My name is Stephanie Lucarelli, and I am running for Collier County School Board because I am a firm believer in public education. I also believe that all schools and children in those schools should be properly represented on our school board. We currently do not have a school board member that has children in traditional public schools. I have a child in high school, 1 in middle school, and 2 in elementary school. I have my Bachelor's of Science degree from Rutgers University, and I taught 7th and 8th grade science in New Jersey before moving here in 2002. Okay, I have devoted the past 12 years and countless hours to our school district, volunteering at all levels, from the schools clear up to sitting on the district level committees. Academic excellence is my first priority, and I believe that we can achieve this by supporting our teachers and their experience, by lobbying the state for more resources and minimizing testing. Fiscal integrity is another. I want to continue to look at innovative ways to maximize our resources. And paving the way for our college and career students is another area I want to focus on, especially in communicating all of the areas, all of the programs that are available for all of our children, for example, the academies and the entrepreneurships. I have a child who is going to be entering 1st grade, so I am going to be involved for a very long time.
Ms. Penta.
evening, and I also want to thank everybody for attending tonight. By your presence here shows you have a real interest in this election and in the school board. My name is Louise Penta, and I'm a candidate for District 2 school board seat. My hope tonight is that we can have a constructive dialogue about the real issues that are surrounding our Collier County children, instead of past unproductive questions that are not helpful or informative to any of us, most of all the children. Let's put our kids first. I am seeking to be elected to the school board because I can get the job done in a no-nonsense manner with intelligence, diplomacy, integrity, leadership, and a common sense approach. I have a proven track record of service to others throughout my entire life. I will be the voice of the children, the teachers, the parents. I will listen to the issues and problems and be ready to focus on the solution in a timely manner with respect. I have mentored 5 students in the Immokalee school system, public school system, raising money for educational programs, helping families with newly diagnosed diabetic children, leading Brownie troops, volunteering in my children's school libraries, and actively serving on boards for many years. I will, and I have, made a difference. I will bring unity and cohesiveness to a working relationship with other members of the school board. I know how to accomplish this. I have done it in the past. I will stand firm on issues that need to be changed and implement initiatives that will be productive and advantageous to our children and teachers. I will not back away from my promises once elected to the school board. Thank you very much.
Thank you all. I have here some questions that were prepared this evening by the Coalition for Quality Public Education, the group that is sponsoring this tonight. I'm going to read the questions off the cards exactly as they were given to me, and also I have some wonderful questions from the audience, some very, very thoughtful questions from all of you tonight, and we'll be getting to those as well mixed in. So let's start the questions, and we'll start in reverse alphabetical order with the questions this time. You'll each have a minute to answer this. Do you believe that the Collier County Public Schools should reject federal funding? If yes, how would you fund the mandated programs? Ms. Penta.
I think we need less intrusiveness from the federal government, and if that means not taking all the federal money they're dangling in front of us, I say yes. I think some of the shortfall in that funding to replace it would be our reserve fund. Also, the millage rate is going to be changed, and that'd be a source of income. Also, examining the programs that we have in our school district right now to see which are effective, which are not effective. If they work, fine. If they don't, we need to either fix them or get rid of them. So I think there'd be a big saving in the top-heavy administration part of our budget to make up that shortfall.
Very good. Ms. Lucarelli, you do the question again? Okay.
I am not in favor of rejecting federal funding because that's $57 million that we have raised that our children that live here in Collier County deserve. The programs that the federal funding supports right now, there's 25 plus programs, including the exceptional student education, the ROTC, the Title I, the free and reduced lunches for our students. Those programs need to be funded either way. They're programs that we have to have. And so if we reject that funding, of course, we need to raise that money again. And the bottom line to me is that our taxes somehow will go up, because if we can't find $57 million in our budget, which I do not believe that we can, we are going to have to raise taxes. Our school district has already cut $54 million out of our budget over the last 6 years. That is pretty impressive, but I feel that we are running, for the most part, pretty bare bones. So I am not in favor of refusing federal funding.
Mr. Dixon?
I believe that anything that we can do to get out from underneath the federal thumb, we should do. Now, whether or not we look at our millage rate, which is about the 1.5 mils, is about to shift back from operating back to capital and keeping it in operating. going through the current budget that we have with a fine-tooth comb to find every penny, or even looking at our staffing levels, which we know going back as far as 2008 when the last accreditation review was done, and they said we were 26% higher than we should be in administration. Now, I know, having read in the paper the last few weeks, that there's been a lot of free and loose opinions about people who don't want the federal money and how we want to eliminate ESE and ROTC. I have an ESE son. I was also an ROTC cadet, including Cadet of the Year. So if you want to accuse me of wanting to get rid of ROTC and ESE, it's just flat out wrong.
Mr. Carter.
Yeah, I think we should keep federal funding. The issue is this. First of all, it's not like it's their money anyways. The government doesn't have a job. They take money, and it's our money they're giving back to us. So that's the whole thing to begin with. So, and the other thing is, too, is that, you know, it's a big wrap-up around a political issue, whether it's testing, which is actually mandated by the state, or whether it's transgender. You know, the federal government's going to do what the federal government wants to do. And the thing of it is, they're going to pass laws. Whether we take the money or not, we're going to have to abide the laws, because if we don't, then we're going to face a lawsuit as a district, and that's not something I'm prepared to do. We can only increase our taxes 90% of what our entitlement is. So if we lose $57 million, it's not going to affect our standardized testing, because that's dictated by the state. It's not dictated by the federal government. So I think keeping the federal funding is the way to go. I think what we have to do is we have to, it just doesn't make sense to me to get rid of $57 million. Our income last year for 15 and 16 was $571 million, and that's 10% of that.
All right, question number 2, and we'll start with Mr. Carter this time. So you can hold on. As a board member, would you vote to reject the Florida state standards?
Well, we can't reject it, because it's a state law. Rejecting it would mean we would break the law. And we take an oath that we would abide and uphold the law, and that's what we have to do. If we want to reject it, what we have to do is we have to lobby to the state to get rid of it. Plus, if we reject it and we lose our accreditation, I mean, who's going to tell what mother that, no, your daughter can't go to Harvard because her high school diploma is the equivalent thereof of a GED? Plus, it just keeps rolling and snowballing. I mean, you know, we're going to lose $94 million now from the state. That's the money we get from them. If we reject that, we take the possibility of losing that. So if you combine that with the federal funding that we reject, that's $151 million. I'm not prepared to put that back on the taxpayers. I just don't think we should do that.
Mr. Nixon.
Well, I don't know of anybody who has suggested that we reject the Florida state standards. What I know people have said that we should do is utilize the Senate Bill 864 that the state passed that allows school boards to choose better curriculum, to choose curriculum and educational materials that we see fit. The standards are what they are. Nobody has ever said to reject the standards. What we said is we need to choose better curriculum and educational materials. And I'm all for actually following the law, Senate Bill 864, which gives that responsibility to the school board. Not for the school board to pass that responsibility off to the superintendent. To be done in the sunshine and allow the community to take part. So yes, we need to reject the curriculum and choose better materials, but that has nothing to do with the standards.
Ms. Lucarelli.
Okay, well, the question you asked if we would be willing to reject the state standards.
That's the question.
Okay. So the Florida state standards is what we follow, and they're standards, and they're high standards, and I think that they are standards that we want to push our children to reach. And there's always going to be issues. There are always going to be things that we don't agree with, and for those things, we need to go and lobby our state to make any of the changes that we are unhappy with or that we don't think fit us as a community. With the bill that was passed, with the law that was passed, Every Student Succeed Act, we have an opportunity to lean on our legislators right now to make any suggestions or changes that we think we need. But I am all for having high standards for our students.
Ms. Penta.
I think high standards are necessary and what we want from all our children, no matter what kind of education we're giving them. But I would really try to work to overturn Common Core. I think that's where the basic problem is. If we went into a different type of education for our children, where they learned, to write properly and read good literature and learn basic math skills that would take them into their life. We'd be doing them more of a service than teaching them Common Core. And with that, probably it would change the testing. I mean, to something more going back to the Iowa Basic or something on that level. So that would be my hope as to something that we could do as a board.
Very good. Our next question, we'll start with Mr. Dixon this time and rotate, I guess, clockwise. I had to think about it for a minute. Should some aspects of U.S. history, such as Japanese internment camps, treatment of Native Americans, and slavery, be modified or removed from the teaching of U.S. history? Mr. Dixon.
No, it shouldn't. But it also shouldn't be the focus of U.S. history. Common Core U.S. history actually basically glosses over the founding of our nation and begins its U.S. history education at the Civil War. We shouldn't eliminate any of our awards as a nation. But as Florida state law says, we should be promoting American exceptionalism in the story.
All right, Ms. Lucarelli.
Okay, I think history needs to be taught as history has happened, and we need to include everything that has happened in our history. We shouldn't be excluding anything. I did want to make one point from the last question, and that is that according to my opponent, our children are not learning how to write properly and that they're not learning basic math, but I assure you, they are. My children come home with their timed math tests that they take every week. My second grader has been coming home with his cursive writing, practicing. Our students are not getting a bad education. Our students are getting a good education. Is there room for improvement? Absolutely.
All right, Ms. Penta, the question regarding history.
History needs to be taught the way it happened. We actually need to let our children know about all the things that you had on your question, but also about, all the wars, the Constitution, how the Constitution came about, the founding documents of our country. This is what history is all about, and I think history being taught as it actually happened correctly in the history books is what we should be looking to achieve.
Mr. Carter.
Yeah, we actually do need to teach history, how it's happened. And my son just did civics this past year in 7th grade at Gulfview Middle School, and he got high honors for it too, so I'm quite proud of him for that. But he learned everything about the Constitution. He learned the Bill of Rights. He learned everything. So they are teaching it the right way in the schools. So I mean, I don't see a problem with how they're teaching it. We learn history to learn from the mistakes we've made in the past, and we need to remember as a nation the mistakes we've made so we don't repeat those mistakes.
All right. Our next question has to do with blue zones, and we actually have a blue zones question from the audience. So I'm going to read you both questions, if I can find it here quickly, because I think there are 2 points of view on this, and it would be good to get you to comment on either point of view. And we'll start this time with Ms. Lucarelli. All right. The question that the official question that I have here is: do you support implementing the Blue Zones project in the Collier County Public Schools? And the question from the audience is: do you support coercing students to eat lunch according to Blue Zones guidelines? Fair is fair, right?
I support teaching our children about healthy living. And everything that I have seen so far with the Blue Zones project has been positive as far as teachers, parents, students, and the administrators. So everything that I have seen thus far has been positive. So I am happy with what has been going on with the Blue Zones project. I do not see that our students are being coerced in any way to eat anything particular. They are making the healthy choice an easy choice for children, and as any parent knows, if you put a whole bunch of carrots and vegetables out on a table and you have hungry children, they're going to eat those. I think that's just the basic of Blue Zones.
I'm sure Blue Zones is a wonderful project, and I think it's great in the community. I think parents' really responsibility is to make sure their kids eat properly, and do the things that the blue zone proposes. My issue with the blue zone is the way it was put through. And I don't think they really gave the school board a fair shake to talk about it, learn about it. It was just pushed through very quickly, and the vote was taken, and nobody could say anything about it. So that's my objection. I think that it should have been looked at a little bit more carefully, and the impact of what it means in all the schools should have been thought out. I mean, if a principal decides he doesn't want blue zone in his school, what is he going to be thought about by the administration or other peers? Is he going to have an issue with that? That's what concerns me, and also about kids that don't want to participate. So I think it needs to be re-examined.
Mr. Carter?
Yeah, I think blue zone is about choice. You know, if you want to send your child to school with a Velveeta sandwich and a Coca-Cola and a Snickers bar, you're more than happy to do that. It's about choice. It's about whether a student can make a healthier choice in the lunch line or not a healthier choice, okay? It's not about taking something away, it's about giving something back. What we need to realize is that child obesity is an issue in this country today, and if we turn our head from it, the healthcare crisis is going to be astronomical compared to what it is today. By the year 2030, 1 out of 3 children will not be eligible for military because of obesity. And that's with the military increasing its standards from 13% body fat to 26% body fat. The Pentagon said it's a matter of national security. So programs like Blue Zone are something we really need to take a look at for our security and for our health crisis that we'll be facing in 15 more years from now.
Mr. Dixon?
Well, a couple of things. One, Healthways, the parent company of Blue Zone, has already ranked the Naples area the healthiest in the nation. So where's the issue? Second, I serve on the wellness committee at North Naples Middle School, and we made this decision for ourselves. So, but I do not support any government entity that dictates things to people. Now, you can talk about making the healthy choice the easy choice, but fully 11 of the 21 policies in the Blue Zone school program either require or prohibit something. That's not choice. Require or prohibit something. That's not choice. Blue Zone policy number 5 states, and I quote, prohibit the sale and/or consumption of soda or other sugar-sweetened beverages on campus, comma, including those brought from home. That should tell you and show you the intent of what the program is.
Thank you. Moving on to the next question. And let's see, I think Mr. Nixon, you get the first question. Right. No, Ms. Pence gets it, sorry. I'm screening audience questions here. Does it really matter? You're all going to get the answer at the end. You're all going to get the answer. Do you believe that school board meetings and public school classrooms are appropriate venues for religious practices?
No, I really don't. I think, your religion and your faith is something that is inside you and is a private thing. And, I believe, I'm a Christian, I believe in Christian education, but I don't think it really belongs in the classroom. I think that should be up to the parents and the children and their choice at what church or what God they want to worship.
All right, Mr. Carter?
Yeah, that should be left at home. You know, children still have the right on their own to bring a Bible into school, and that's their constitutional right. And when I was in school, I was a member of a group called FCA, which is Fellowship of Christian Athletes, and that's still implemented in the schools today. But to be taught in the schools, that needs to be a personal issue at home.
Mr. Dixon?
Well, I think the question is kind of disguised, because I think what the real intent of the question is to ask if we support an invocation in school board meetings, which I have no problem with. Now, should religion be taught in class? No. Do I have a problem with invocation to start a school board meeting? Absolutely not. Every other level of government has an invocation to start their meetings.
Ms. Lucarelli?
I believe that the religion, everybody's individual religion, is something that is so personal. As a Catholic, I believe that the prayer and religious beliefs that my family and my children, that we take part in at home, it should be at home. And I support the moment of silence that we have at a school board meeting because I believe that it gives everybody their individual preference on saying a prayer or making positive thoughts before a school board meeting in whatever way they choose, in whatever religion they choose. And when we're talking about children being involved, I think it's a good idea for our personal religious beliefs